Imagine yourself in the place of a human during the Ice Age. The world around you is harsh and unforgiving, yet magnificent in its primordial beauty. You stand amidst endless expanses where there are no roads, no traces of civilization, only nature as it was thousands of years ago. If you enjoy stories about the past, hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. This helps us create even more content for those who want to fall asleep while learning fascinating details of our history. The world stretches endlessly in every direction, blanketed in snow and silence. The sky is pale and heavy with drifting clouds, while the frozen ground gleams under a thin layer of icy crystals. The sun, low on the horizon, casts a muted silvery light that reflects off glaciers and snowdrifts, making the entire landscape appear to shimmer faintly like a vast frozen ocean. The air is sharp and dry, biting softly at any exposed skin. Each breath crystallizes in the cold, curling like mist before fading into the endless white. The wind moves slowly, brushing across the snow with a steady, whispering rhythm. It carries with it the faintest scent of pine, frozen earth, and distant smoke, a quiet reminder that life still clings to the edges of this ancient frozen world. Across the plains, the snow lies deep, sculpted into ridges and hollows by the unrelenting wind. Drifts pile along the bases of trees, scraggly birches, gnarled pines, their branches coated in thick rime ice. The trees creak faintly, their limbs bowed beneath the weight of snow. Frost etches delicate patterns across the bark, each line a frozen testament to the passing of countless winters. Towering above the plains, the glaciers dominate the horizon. They rise like vast walls of blue-white ice, their surfaces fractured and jagged, their depths ancient and deep. Slow but relentless, these frozen giants move inch by inch, reshaping the valleys, carving new paths through mountains, grinding rock into powder beneath their crushing weight. From time to time, a deep groan echoes across the land, the ice shifting, cracking, reminding all who listen of its power. Beyond the glaciers, the mountains stand tall and forbidding. Their snow-covered peaks disappear into heavy clouds, while their slopes gleam beneath layers of ice. Frozen rivers snake through the valleys, their glassy surfaces cracked and dusted with snow. Small hills rise and fall like frozen waves, their outlines softened by snowdrifts. Animal tracks cross the snow, broad, deep impressions where mammoths have passed. Smaller, nimble hoof prints from reindeer, delicate bird tracks winding between snow-laden shrubs. The land appears empty at first glance, but signs of life are hidden within its vastness. Woolly rhinos graze along the icy edges of plains, their heavy forms covered in dense, snow-frosted fur. Herds of reindeer forage for buried lichen and moss, their breaths forming misty clouds in the frigid air. Above, birds soar in wide arcs, dark against the soft gray sky. Their wings spread wide, gliding on the cold currents, their cries brief and sharp before fading into silence. Beneath them, foxes weave unseen paths through snowdrifts, their fur blending seamlessly into the landscape. The cold is constant, an unyielding presence that seeps into every crevice, clings to every surface. It wraps the earth in quiet stillness, a frozen hush that blankets the plains. The snow-absorbed sound, muting even the sharpest footsteps, the crunch of ice underfoot, the rustle of fur-lined garments. Yet within this harsh, ancient world, life endures. Hidden among the low hills and dense forests, small bands of humans move cautiously across the snow. Wrapped in thick layers of fur and hide, they leave only faint impressions on the land, soft tracks leading toward shelter, the barely perceptible outline of figures moving against the white horizon. Their shelters lie low to the ground, camouflaged by snow and earth, crafted from branches, stone, animal bones, and hides. Smoke curls from narrow vents, blending with the overcast sky, carrying the faint aroma of burning wood and seared meat. Inside, firelight flickers softly, casting warmth against the bitter cold. The people here are few but resilient, bound together by the demands of survival. Their knowledge of the land is deep, passed down through stories, gestures, the quiet wisdom of observation. They know where to find the hidden paths, how to track game across ice-crusted plains, how to read the snow for signs of danger. In the evenings, when the faint sun slips below the horizon, the world shifts. The sky deepens to dark indigo, and the first stars prick the sky. Distant, cold, steady. When clouds part, the northern lights unfurl across the heavens, ribbons of green and blue drifting silently over the plains, casting subtle colors on the snow below. The wind continues its song, shaping the snow, brushing against shelters, carrying with it the ancient heartbeat of the ice. The frozen world holds steady, vast and quiet, a land where time slows and the endurance of life shines faint but unbroken. Even here, in the heart of winter's rain, the world stirs softly, the frozen earth awakening beneath the shimmering sky. Part 2. Under the Northern Lights. As night deepens, the sky stretches wide and endless above the frozen land, a dark, velvety expanse embroidered with countless stars. The faint glow of moonlight glistens upon the snow, casting silver reflections across the rolling drifts and icy ridges. But tonight, something more ethereal dances across the heavens. Ribbons of green, blue, and violet ripple silently over the plains. The northern lights shimmer, their colors twisting and drifting like smoke upon the frozen sky, The snow reflects their glow, softening the shadows, painting the landscape with faint, ghostly hues. The towering glaciers seem to glow from within, their jagged surfaces glinting softly beneath the celestial light. The plains stretch out in every direction, quiet, immense, undisturbed, except for the whispering wind. Among the hollows of snow and rock, faint tracks mark the passage of life. Broad mammoth footprints, the smaller trails of reindeer, the delicate impressions left by birds and foxes. But tonight, new tracks appear, the careful, practiced steps of people. Wrapped in thick furs, their faces hidden beneath hoods, small groups of humans move across the snow. Their movements are slow, deliberate, shaped by generations of survival in this frozen wilderness. The cold bites at their cheeks, numbs their fingers, but they continue onward, their boots pressing softly into the snow. Their eyes are sharp, scanning the shadows, following the faint curves of distant tracks, reading the snow for signs of life. They speak little, their breaths misting in the air, their presence marked only by the faint crunch of footsteps beneath them. The sky shifts above, the northern lights dancing ever more vividly, ribbons of green undulating across the darkness, swirling as if alive. The people glance upward, their expressions calm, yet reverent. To them, the lights are more than a spectacle. They are a reminder of the ancient world that surrounds them, a connection to the sky, to the land, to the quiet endurance that defines their lives. Among the group, a child walks carefully, her small hand clasped within her mother's. Her eyes are wide, reflecting the colors above, filled with quiet wonder. This is her world, endless snow, silent forests, the soft crackle of ice beneath her feet. She listens to the wind, feels the cold pressing close, sees the shimmering sky stretch vast and infinite above. The people move toward their shelter, a low structure half buried in snow, built from bones, wood, and hides. Smoke curls faintly from a small vent, carrying the scent of fire, warmth, life. As they reach the shelter, they slip inside, shedding layers of snow-dusted fur, gathering close around the flickering fire. Inside, the air is warmer, rich with the scent of burning wood, dried herbs, and cooked meat. The firelight dances across the walls, illuminating bundles of tools, stacks of hides, and the watchful eyes of those who remained behind. Soft voices murmur, sharing news, recounting quiet stories, the words blending with the crackle of flames. Outside, the wind hums steadily, reshaping the snow, whispering along the frozen earth. The northern lights ripple on, their colors drifting slowly across the heavens, casting their glow upon the ice-bound world. In this ancient land of cold and endurance, life continues, small, resilient, unbroken, beneath the shimmering sky. The family huddles close to the fire, their hands extending toward the warmth. their faces flushed from the biting wind outside. They speak softly, their voices weaving together like threads of cloth. Tales of hunts, memories of ancestors, hopes for the days ahead. The child listens, her eyes wide with curiosity, the glow of the flames dancing across her face. In the quiet moments before sleep, they share food, pieces of dried meat, bits of preserved berries, sips of warm broth brewed from roots and herbs gathered in the short, fleeting summers. The flavors are simple but nourishing, a gift from the land that sustains them. The elder of the group, his face weathered like ancient stone, leans forward, his voice low and steady. He speaks of the sky, of the lights that drift above, of the ancestors who watch from beyond the ice, of the great creatures that roam the snow. His words carry wisdom etched into every line of his face, shaped by seasons of survival. Outside, the snow falls again, a soft, steady whisper that blankets the earth anew. The wind curls along the edges of the shelter, but inside the fire burns steady, its glow a small defiance against the vast frozen world. The northern lights pulse gently across the heavens, their green and blue hues rippling across the snow, casting soft, ethereal shadows on the ground. The land sleeps, but within the shelter life stirs. Quiet, determined, bound together by warmth, by story, by the simple, enduring hope of another dawn. Part 3. Shelters beneath the snow. The shelter rises low against the frozen ground, half hidden beneath snowdrifts. Its curved frame, crafted from the massive bones of a mammoth long fallen to the hunt. Thick hides, stitched together with sinew, stretched tightly across the structure, forming a weatherproof barrier against the biting winds. Snow has been carefully packed along the base and sides, insulating the walls, blending the shelter seamlessly into the winter landscape. The entrance is small, just wide enough for a person to crawl through, designed to preserve the precious warmth trapped within. Outside, the wind hums across the open plains, shaping the snow into rippling drifts. But inside, the air is still, quiet, heavy with the scent of smoke, tanned hides, and old earth. Within the shelter, the walls curve gently overhead, the ribs of the mammoth arching like the supports of a great dome. Firs line the ground, layered thick upon the frozen soil, their soft surfaces worn smooth from years of use. Along one side, a shallow hearth burns steadily, its low flames flickering beneath a small hole in the roof that vents the smoke skyward. The fire crackles faintly, casting golden light that dances across the rough textures of wood, bone, and fur. Bundles of tools and supplies hang from the walls, sharp flint blades, scrapers carved from antler, polished bone needles, coiled sinew strings, and bundles of dried grasses rest beside woven baskets filled with roots, herbs, and other precious food stores. Every object has its place, carefully arranged to maximize space within the snug shelter. The air inside is warmer, rich with familiar smells, smoke and fur, tanned leather, the lingering aroma of cooked meat. The walls hold the faint imprint of handprints and simple markings, faded lines etched in soot and ash, reminders of those who built this place, of the many seasons spent beneath its roof. In one corner, a large pile of hides and furs forms a sleeping space where family members huddle close during the long, dark nights. The soft breathing of resting bodies mingles with the crackle of the fire and the distant muffled sound of wind pressing against the walls. Children play quietly near the hearth, tracing patterns into the dirt floor, arranging small carved figures of animals, mammoths, reindeer, wolves, their smooth wooden surfaces worn from countless hands. They laugh softly, their voices subdued but full of life, a defiant melody beneath the harsh silence of the outside world. Adults mend clothing, sharpen tools, and prepare meals, their fingers skilled and steady. A woman stitches a tear in a fur-lined cloak, her needle gliding through the tough material with practiced ease. Beside her, a man shapes the point of a spear, his hand steady, his eyes focused. The flickering fire casts warm hues across their faces, illuminating lines of resilience etched by years of surviving the ice. Above the shelter, snow continues to fall, soft, steady, blanketing the world in quiet. The outside is hostile, the wind sharp, but within these walls there is peace, warmth, and the pulse of human determination. Hooks of carved bone hold bundles of dried meat and fish, their surfaces glistening faintly with preserved oils. Stone vessels filled with rendered fat sit near the fire, their contents vital for warmth and sustenance. The elder of the shelter, her hair silvered by time, tends to the fire. Her hands move with ease, born of decades surviving the winters. She adds carefully, split wood, adjusts the coals, her eyes reflecting the flame. Around her, the younger members of the group listen. Stories flow as steadily as the heat. Tales of ancestors, of distant hunts, of ancient spirits whispered to dwell within the ice. At night, when the fire burns low and the world outside grows colder still, the people huddle close, their bodies pressed together beneath thick furs, the shared warmth, a fragile but enduring shield against the vast frozen expanse beyond. Dreams drift across their minds of summer days, of abundant hunts, of green valleys long buried beneath snow, but always they awaken to this shelter, to the crackling fire, to the steady, enduring life beneath the snow. Here, beneath the curved bones of an ancient beast, protected from the relentless cold, humanity finds refuge, not merely surviving, but living, held together by quiet endurance, by warmth, and by the shared hope for another sunrise. Part 4. Fireside warmth, The fire crackles softly, its low flames dancing within the hearth, casting amber light across the curved interior of the shelter. Outside, the snow falls steadily, piling higher against the walls, the distant wind whispering through the frozen darkness. But here, inside, the air is filled with warmth, with the mingling scents of burning wood, smoked meat, and tanned hides. People gather around the fire, seated upon thick furs layered over the packed earth floor. Their garments of fur and leather rustle faintly as they settle close, drawing warmth from the fire's glow. Shadows flicker upon their faces, faces weathered by time and cold, eyes bright with the quiet determination of those who endure the endless winter. A woman tends to a pot suspended above the coals, stirring a simmering broth that fills the air with the savory aroma of herbs, roots, and carefully preserved meat. The scent rises, rich and comforting, mingling with the faint smokiness of the shelter's walls. Nearby, strips of drying meat hang from wooden racks, their surfaces glistening with rendered fat essential for surviving the lean months. Children sit cross-legged near the hearth, their small hands busy shaping figures from scraps of wood and bone. Tiny reindeer, mammoths, birds of prey, their soft laughter blends with the gentle crackle of the fire, a melody of life woven into the ancient rhythms of survival. They whisper stories to one another, tales learned from the elders, of creatures that roam the ice, of spirits that dance upon the northern lights. The elders sit closest to the flames, their knees drawn near their chests, their hands steady as they craft tools and mend garments. Sharp flint blades flash briefly in the firelight as they scrape hides or carve points for spears. Their voices, low and patient, carry wisdom through the shelter, advice for the young, stories of hunts long past, the subtle knowledge of reading the snow and sky. Outside, the storm builds, wind driving snow against the walls with a faint, rhythmic hiss. The shelter creaks softly under the weight, but the structure, bones, hides, wood, holds firm, a testament to the people's resilience and the lessons of countless generations. The fire burns on, its warmth a fragile yet enduring center within the frozen world. Around it, life pulses, the quiet hum of conversation, the shifting of furs, the soft scraping of tools. The glow reflects off the polished surfaces of bone ornaments, off stone bowls filled with stored food, off the simple tools of survival. As night deepens, the fire is fed with carefully split wood and dried grasses. Sparks rise toward the vent above, disappearing into the dark beyond. The shadows within the shelter stretch and fade, blending with the low murmur of voices and the steady breath of sleeping forms. In this place, beneath the curved bones of ancient beasts, warmth is more than heat. It is safety, memory, connection. The people draw close, wrapped in layers of fur, their eyes reflecting the last flickers of flame. Dreams settle over them, dreams of green valleys, of distant herds, of the gentle promise that even beneath the ice, life endures. The fire burns low, the coals glowing softly, and still, within the shelter, there is peace. The quiet, enduring warmth of survival, of community, of hope. The flicker of the flames sends wavering shadows across the walls, illuminating the careful construction of the shelter. Tanned hides, stretched tightly over the bone framework, shimmer faintly with residual warmth. Wooden frames hold baskets of dried herbs, roots, and flint tools, their presence a testament to preparation and patience. Nearby, an elder threads sinew through a torn seam in a fur cloak, her fingers nimble despite the deep lines etched by years of survival. The scent of smoke clings to her garments, mingling with the earthy aroma of aged hides and resin used to waterproof seams. In the far corner, a young boy turns a carved mammoth figure in his hands, tracing the smooth surface with quiet concentration. His eyes lift occasionally to the fire, watching sparks drift upward like fleeting stars before disappearing into the dark vent overhead. A man prepares bone-tipped arrows, binding flint points with sinew and resin. His motions are deliberate, the movements practiced, each task essential for the harsh days ahead. The fire's glow glints off the sharp edges, highlighting the fine craftsmanship that survival demands. Outside, the wind howls, snow battering the shelter's walls in gusting waves. Yet inside, the warmth is steady, the rhythm of life unbroken. The fire's light reveals the strength of this small, ancient community. A circle of faces drawn together by need, by family, by quiet hope that when dawn breaks beyond the snow, they will rise again. Part 5. Layers of Fur and Leather. The people of this frozen land know that warmth is not a luxury. It is a necessity, a matter of life and death. Their survival depends on what they wear, layer upon layer, every garment carefully crafted from the resources the land provides. Skins of animals, soft, pliable, durable, form the first defense against the brutal cold. Fur is everywhere. The outer garments shimmer with thick, insulating hides from reindeer, foxes, wolves, and mammoths. The fur faces inward, hugging the body, trapping heat close to the skin. Over that, tougher hides, treated, scraped, smoked, form a weatherproof barrier against wind and snow. Every edge is sewn tightly with sinew, every seam reinforced to resist the tearing grip of winter. Their cloaks are long, heavy, hooded, lined with the warmest pelts. The hoods drape over their heads, framing faces already wrapped in scarves of soft fur. Only the eyes remain exposed, sharp, clear, scanning the frozen world, while the rest of the face is protected beneath layers of leather and fur. Beneath the cloaks, tunics of layered skins cover their bodies, tied at the waist with broad leather belts adorned with bone toggles, small carved charms, and pouches for tools. Their leggings are stitched from overlapping furs, their boots high, padded with moss, lined with fur, sealed tight with strips of sinew. Each step across the snow is muffled, the boots designed to glide across ice, leaving minimal trace. Gloves of animal hide encase their hands, flexible but thick, stitched with care to maintain dexterity without sacrificing warmth. The furs curled gently around their wrists, snow sliding off like water from feathered plumage. Even infants are swaddled head to toe in miniature garments of fur and skin, their tiny forms bundled tightly against the unforgiving air. Each piece of clothing is functional, but beauty is not forgotten. Decorative fringes, tiny bone beads, etched patterns in leather. The garments tell stories, mark lineage, express quiet pride in craftsmanship. Hoods bear small tufts of dyed fur. Cloaks ripple with faint symbols burned into the leather. Abstract shapes reminiscent of animals, snow, stars. At dawn, when the people step beyond their shelters, the sound of layered garments brushing together is the only noise, a faint swish accompanying each movement. The cold presses close, but their breath curls behind fur-wrapped faces, their bodies insulated beneath the expertly constructed layers. Even during long treks across snow-bound plains, they remain protected. Snow clings to the outer hides, but warmth endures beneath. The people move as if armored in the gifts of the land, their clothing a shield crafted from skill, necessity, and ancient knowledge. When they sit beside the fires at night, removing heavy cloaks and boots, the interior garments, soft, well-worn, cling to their forms, still carrying the earthy scents of tanned hide, smoke, and distant pine forests. Their fingers trace the seams, inspecting each stitch, repairing frays, adjusting ties. The elders remember times when garments were fewer, when winters were harsher. Stories of survival, of near loss, of clothing patched and repatched. They pass down the techniques, how to soften hides, how to select the right furs, how to carve bone needles strong enough for the thickest pelts. Within the shelter, racks of drying hides hang overhead, their surfaces stiffening, their edges curling slightly as they cure by the fire. Rolls of prepared sinew and coils of gut cordage rest beside baskets of sharpened bone needles and flint scrapers. The work of clothing never ends. Always there are repairs, new garments for the young, adaptations for the brutal months to come. In this frozen world, clothing is more than protection. It is tradition, family, connection to the land. The soft brush of fur, the resilient strength of leather, the intricate weaving of sinew, each stitch, each layer binds the people to one another and to the earth that demands endurance. Wrapped in their garments, They move through the ice and snow, their figures almost blending with the land, warm, resilient, quietly prepared for all the winter may bring. Part 6. Tools of Survival. In the frozen heart of the Ice Age, tools are more than objects. They are lifelines, crafted with care, carried with pride, passed down through generations. Each tool tells a story of endurance, patience, and deep understanding of the land. The people shape their tools from what the earth and animals provide: stone, bone, antler, wood. In skilled hands, rough materials transform into sharp edges, smooth surfaces, instruments essential for life. Flint is prized above all. Its cool, glassy surface fractures cleanly, yielding blades with razor-sharp edges. Along the shelter walls, baskets hold fragments of stone, gray, blue, speckled, each carefully selected from riverbeds or cliffs. Knappers sit by the fire, striking flint cores with antler hammers, the rhythmic tap echoing softly, chips of stone falling like ice crystals to the ground. From these shards emerged knives, sleek, gleaming blades bound to bone handles with sinew cord. The knives cut hides, slice meat, scrape skins clean. Their edges glint in the firelight, cool to the touch, honed with precision. Bone tools fill the shelter, sturdy awls, needles, scrapers, antlers, strong and flexible, shape into spear points, hooks, and wedges. The surfaces are smoothed by countless hours of sanding with gritty stones, their pale color etched with faint markings, lines of ownership, simple symbols of the clan. Wood is scarce, gathered from wind-stunted trees along the edges of the frozen plains. It bends beneath practiced hands, straight shafts, carved into spear handles, bow staves, frames for sleds. The wood is tough, but light, its grain strengthened by smoke curing over slow fires. Bowls and cups of wood and bone sit by the hearth, their surfaces worn smooth by use, their edges darkened with age. The bowls hold broth, melted snow, preserved fat, essentials of life. The craftsmanship is simple, elegant. Curves shaped with stone blades, smoothed by hand, polished with fat and ash. Basketry, woven from roots and grasses gathered in warmer seasons, lines the shelves, containers for dried meat, herbs, stone fragments. The tight weave repels snow. The plant fibers rough under fingertips, but flexible, reliable. Sinew, the strong, fibrous cords taken from the legs and backs of animals, binds everything together. It laces clothing, secures spear points, stitches hides, ties bundles. Its texture is rough when dry, pliable when moistened, drying taut and strong as it cools. Fire-hardened points of wood and bone lean against the shelter walls, their tips sharp, their surfaces gleaming faintly with protective fat rubbed into the grain. Spears stand ready by the entrance, weapons for mammoth hunts, defense against predators. Each evening as the fire crackles low, hands work steadily, reshaping flint, sanding bone, weaving cord, testing edges. The people's tools are their art, their heritage, the quiet promise of survival carved into every surface. In this frozen world, nothing is wasted. Even shattered fragments of stone find new life as scrapers or arrowheads. Bone shards become needles, slivers of wood become toggles. Every piece matters, every object serves a purpose. The shelter hums with the quiet rhythm of creation, the scrape of stone on bone, the gentle rasp of hide stretched taut, the soft snick of cord tightening around spear shafts. Tools fill the space, not merely objects, but extensions of hand and mind, crafted for survival, for community, for life. Part 7. The hunt begins. The frozen land lies silent beneath the pale glow of morning, the snow untouched, glistening like a vast white canvas, stretching beyond sight. The air is sharp, filled with the crisp bite of cold, each breath curling in thin streams of vapor. Overhead, the sky is painted with muted gray clouds, thin ribbons of light breaking through to touch the snow in faint silver glimmers. The hunters rise early, before the first shimmer of dawn fully brightens the icy plains. Their garments rustle softly as they dress, layers of fur and leather wrapped tight, hoods drawn low, gloves secured over their hands. Their tools are ready, spears sharpened, arrows tipped with flint, sinew ties checked and tightened. Outside, the snow crunches faintly beneath their boots, the only sound against the deep stillness of the morning. Their eyes scan the ground, reading the frozen earth like a map, tracks pressed faintly into the snow, signs of life lingering in the otherwise quiet world. Large, rounded impressions, mammoth tracks, pressed deep into the surface, while finer, more delicate marks. The paths of reindeer or smaller creatures wind across the drifts. The group moves cautiously, their steps measured, their bodies low to the ground. The hunters communicate with gestures, a glance, a nod. Words are sparse, reserved for moments of necessity. The hunt is a ritual of patience, of silence, of understanding the rhythms of the land. The snow shifts beneath their feet as they pass through the tree line, pines and birches standing tall, their branches creaking softly beneath layers of frost. The cold air carries the faint scent of pine resin, mingling with the earthy aroma of snow and bark. Beyond the trees, the plains stretch wide, open, stark, broken only by the distant shapes of creatures moving slowly through the ice and snow. The hunters crouch behind a ridge of snow, their eyes fixed on a herd of reindeer grazing near patches of exposed lichen. The animals move in quiet unity, their breath visible in the frozen air, their hooves clicking softly against the ice-crusted ground. The moment is tense, the world narrowing to the quiet sound of breath, the faint hum of wind, the pulse of blood in their ears. Spears are drawn back, arrows knocked against bowstrings. The hunters wait, calculating the distance, reading the wind, watching for signs of movement among the herd. Suddenly, the lead hunter gestures. A signal. The hunters fan out, their steps muffled by snow, their forms blending into the white landscape. The reindeer, alert to the subtle change in the air, lift their heads, nostrils flaring, ears swiveling. The tension builds. The snow compresses beneath careful footsteps. The hunters' grips tighten on their weapons, breath held steady. Then, with precision honed through years of practice, the hunters strike. Arrows fly, spears arc through the air, cutting cleanly through the silence. The reindeer scatter, hooves thundering across the plains, snow exploding beneath them. But the hunters are swift, moving with practiced grace, anticipating the herd's path, adjusting positions. Their eyes remain fixed, their bodies steady, their movements efficient. The hunt stretches across the frozen expanse, weaving between snowdrifts and sparse trees. The cold bites at their exposed faces, but the adrenaline warms their blood, their muscles moving with trained ease. In time, the hunt concludes, the reindeer felled, the snow marked with fresh tracks and crimson stains. The hunters gather, their breaths heavy but satisfied, their tools retrieved, their bounty inspected. With practiced efficiency, they begin the work, skinning hides, carving meat, separating bone and sinew. The air fills with the mingling scents of blood, fur, and cold earth. Their hands move steadily, their eyes scanning the horizon, always alert, always respectful of the land's unforgiving nature. The meat is bundled in hides, tied with sinew. Tools are checked, weapons adjusted. The hunters share quiet words, their voices low, their faces weathered but content. The journey home begins, their forms moving across the snow, their tracks winding back toward the shelter, back to warmth, to fire, to the steady hum of life beneath the ice. The hunt is more than survival. It is tradition, connection to the land, to each other, to the rhythm of existence in this frozen world. Part 8. Mammoths on the horizon. The plains stretch vast and quiet, covered in endless snow, their surface broken only by the faint rise and fall of distant ridges and the dark silhouettes of scattered trees. A soft wind moves across the frozen land, carrying with it the sharp scent of ice, the faint aroma of pine, and the distant echoes of life. It is in this silent expanse that the great ones appear, mammoths, towering creatures clad in thick shag of fur, their forms immense against the stark white of the plains. Their dark silhouettes loom on the horizon, majestic and slow-moving, their curved tusks rising like ancient polished ivory crescents above their broad heads. The mammoths move together, their massive feet pressing deep into the snow, leaving wide circular impressions behind them. Their fur is dense and matted, layered to withstand the unrelenting cold, dusted with frost that glistens faintly beneath the pale sun. Their eyes, small and dark, scan the landscape with ancient awareness, their every movement measured, deliberate, steeped in the rhythms of survival. The hunters watch from a distance, crouched low behind a ridge of snow. Their breaths fog in the frigid air, their garments of fur and leather blending with the muted tones of the land. They observe in silence the rise and fall of the mammoth's steps, the slow sway of their woolly forms, the faint clouds of vapor curling from their wide, flaring nostrils. Beyond the mammoths, other creatures graze along the edges of the plains. Woolly rhinoceroses, their heavy frames clad in coarse, snow-frosted hides, move with lumbering strength, their curved horns glinting faintly. Herds of reindeer cluster near exposed patches of lichen, their breaths visible, their hooves clicking softly against the frozen ground. The world feels ancient here, each creature a relic of endurance, shaped by the relentless cold, bound to the land by cycles of life older than memory. The hunters prepare, their movements cautious, their tools checked. Spears, arrows, knives honed sharp. Their faces are etched with focus, their eyes reflecting the silent intensity of the moment. They know the risk. A mammoth, despite its size, is no easy prey. It is a test of patience, of precision, of unwavering respect for the strength of these towering beasts. They approach with care, weaving between snowdrifts, their footsteps muffled, their bodies low. The snow absorbs sound, the wind carries their scent away. The mammoths graze slowly, unaware of the hunter's presence, their trunks curling, pulling up roots and frozen grasses, their tusks shifting gently through the air. The lead hunter signals, a gesture as subtle as the drifting snow. The others fan out, positioning themselves with practiced ease. Spears are raised, arrows knocked, breaths held. The moment stretches, the world narrowing to the quiet sound of snow falling from distant branches, to the steady pulse of life beneath layers of fur and hide. Then the signal is given. Spears fly, arrows arc, the air split with the sudden, fleeting violence of survival. The mammoths bellow, their deep voices rumbling like distant thunder across the plains, their massive forms shifting with surprising speed. The snow explodes beneath heavy feet, the herd moving in defensive formation, young protected within the circle of towering adults. The hunters advance with caution, their movements swift but precise, their eyes reading the moment, adjusting, retreating when needed, pressing forward when the opportunity arises. It is not a swift hunt. It is measured, deliberate, shaped by respect for the power of these ancient creatures. Hours pass, the frozen plains marked by tracks, by the faint traces of struggle, by the enduring presence of both hunter and hunted. When the hunt concludes, it is with reverence. The fallen mammoth lies vast upon the snow, its fur rippling faintly in the cold wind, its tusks gleaming with ancestral weight. The hunters approached, their breaths heavy, their faces solemn. They worked together, skinning the dense hide, carving the immense body, preserving every part. Meat is carefully bundled, bones set aside for tools and shelter, sinew gathered for stitching, the ivory tusks respected as symbols of survival. The plains are quiet once more, the horizon stretching wide beneath the pale sky. The mammoths move away, their silhouettes fading into the snow, their ancient presence lingering. The hunters return, their burdens heavy, their hearts steady, carrying with them the fruits of patience, of endurance, of life drawn from the frozen world. Part 9. Food for the long winter. The long return from the hunt is heavy with silence, the only sound the steady crunch of snow beneath fur-lined boots and the soft creak of sleds laden with the bounty of survival. The mammoth's massive portions, bundles of meat, rolls of hide, bones as long as a man, are secured with sinew cords, dragged carefully across the frozen plains. The hunters move with practiced ease, their bodies shielded beneath thick layers of fur and leather, their breath misting in the sharp air. At the edge of the settlement the others emerge, women, elders, children, their faces weathered, their eyes bright with anticipation. The arrival of meat means life, warmth, energy for the bitter days ahead. Hands work quickly, securing the sleds, unloading the precious cargo. The air fills with the rich metallic scent of fresh blood, mingling with the earthy aroma of tanned hides and the faint smoke curling from the shelters. The process of preservation begins without delay. Skins are stretched across wooden frames, their surfaces scraped clean with sharp flint blades, the rough rasp of stone on hide blending with the quiet hum of voices. Meat is carefully sliced into long, thin strips, deep red, marbled with fat, hung from wooden racks beside the fires to dry and smoke. The flames crackle, their warmth rising into the shelter, their smoke curling along the walls, seeping into every fiber of fur and leather. The scent of roasting meat wafts through the camp, savory and rich, mingling with the sharp tang of pine resin and the faint sweetness of drying herbs. Pots of broth simmer over the coals, steam rising in gentle plumes, carrying the aroma of marrow, root vegetables, and wild greens foraged from beneath the snow. Children sit wide-eyed near the hearth, watching as elders stir the bubbling pots, as hunters carve meat with precision, as every scrap is set aside, nothing wasted. Bones are sorted by size and strength, the largest for shelter frames, the smaller for tools, needles, and ornaments. The ivory tusks, polished and gleaming, are set reverently aside, destined for carvings and symbolic treasures. The meat cures slowly, darkening as it dries. The air within the shelters heavy with the mingling scents of smoke, fat, and fur. Strips of dried meat are stored in woven baskets layered with moss to prevent spoilage, stacked carefully for the months when hunting is scarce. Fat is rendered in stone vessels, heated gently over the fire, turning into a thick, rich substance essential for sustenance and warmth. It is poured into carved containers, hollowed bones, wooden bowls, its surface glistening, its faint aroma filling the air. Organs are cleaned and prepared, the heart roasted over open flames, the liver seasoned with dried herbs. Delicacies reserved for the elders, for those whose strength and wisdom guide the group through the unforgiving winters. By nightfall, the work continues, hands busy beneath the flickering firelight, voices low, the steady rhythm of knives against meat, the crackle of flames, the rustling of hides. The snow outside falls softly, blanketing the world anew, but within the circle of warmth, life endures, fed by the land, by the hunt, by the skill and patience of those who know how to thrive beneath the ice. The storage shelters are packed, bundles of dried meat stacked upon racks, rendered fat sealed within tight vessels, hides curing, sinew coiled for future use. Every item has its place, every task a purpose, each action a quiet declaration that even here, amid endless snow and biting wind, the people will persist. The scent of food lingers long into the night, clinging to garments, to hair, to the very walls of the shelters, a reminder that beneath the frozen sky, within this ancient world of ice, there is warmth, sustenance, and the enduring promise of another winter survived. Part 10. Rhythms of Everyday Life. The morning light creeps gently across the snow-covered land, a pale glow rising beyond the horizon, casting long shadows upon the ground. Inside the shelter, the first signs of stirring begin. The crackling of embers revived, the soft rustling of fur-lined cloaks, the quiet murmur of voices as the people awaken to another day beneath the frozen sky. Outside, the snow is crisp beneath their feet, the air cold but still, carrying the familiar scents of pine, smoke, and distant ice. The settlement hums with quiet activity, tasks carried out with practiced rhythm, each action a thread woven into the tapestry of survival. The cold bites gently at noses and cheeks, but layers of fur and hide shield every body, every step, purposeful. The women tend to the fire, feeding it with carefully dried wood, the flames flickering and casting warmth into the shelter's heart. Pots of broth simmer, the rich aroma of herbs and meat mingling with the earthy scent of hides and fur. Steam curls into the air, clinging to the ceiling, carrying with it the promise of nourishment. Bowls and carved wooden spoons clatter softly as hands distribute food, the first meal of the day grounding everyone for the hours ahead. Children laugh softly as they play near the hearth, their games made from carved figures of animals, their small hands tracing shapes into the snow-dusted earth. Their cheeks are flushed, their eyes bright with curiosity, their world simple yet rich with wonder. They build miniature shelters from sticks and snow, mimicking their parents' work with innocent pride. The elders sit close to the fire, their fingers busy with needle and sinew, repairing garments worn thin by countless days in the snow. Each stitch is precise, each thread a testament to patience and skill, an unbroken link to generations past. Their stories drift quietly, tales of ancestors and great hunts, of seasons colder than this, of survival when the food was scarce. Hunters prepare their gear, checking spear points, sharpening flint blades, securing sinew ties. Their faces calm, their eyes steady. They speak little, their focus absolute, their knowledge deepened by years spent reading the snow, tracking animals, surviving. Their silhouettes move steadily through the settlement, every gesture practiced, every tool part of their second nature. Throughout the day, the rhythm continues. Hides are scraped clean and stretched to cure. Bone tools are carved and polished. Baskets woven from dried grasses hold roots and herbs gathered in warmer times. The steady hum of work blends with the occasional crack of firewood, the faint laughter of children, the distant howl of wind curling along the plains. Simple joys emerge, a shared smile, the warmth of fur-lined cloaks, the aroma of roasting meat drifting on the cold air. Hands move with care, teaching the young, preserving knowledge, reinforcing the bonds that tether them together. Older children help mend fishing nets made of twisted fibers. Others smooth bone needles or practice balancing small spears. Evening falls softly, the sky deepening to a dusky blue, the first stars pricking through the clouds. The people gather around the fire once more, sharing food, stories, quiet songs that drift upward with the smoke. The air inside fills with the mingling scents of cooked meat, smoke, and the faint sweetness of dried berries saved for winter. Beneath the glow of the flames, they sit close, shoulders brushing, eyes reflecting the warmth, hearts steady, their lives woven together by routine, by quiet endurance, by the unbroken rhythm of everyday life. The night outside is long, but within the shelter there is peace, a humble, enduring peace built from small tasks, familiar voices, and the ancient cycle of survival beneath the frozen sky. Part 11. Passing down knowledge. As dusk settles over the snowy plains, the shelter glows softly with the golden light of the fire, its warmth pushing back the creeping cold. The people gather in close, their voices hushed, their faces illuminated by the flickering flames. Tonight, as on countless nights before, the elders will speak. The oldest among them, wrinkled faces framed by fur-lined hoods, eyes sharpened by decades of survival, lean forward, their hands resting on worn hides, their fingers tracing faint patterns in the earth. Their voices rise, low, steady, shaped by memory, weaving tales that stretch back through generations. They speak of the great animals, the mammoths with their towering tusks, the woolly rhinoceroses roaming distant plains, the ancient predators hidden beyond the tree line. They tell how their ancestors learned to track them, to hunt, to use every part of the animal, meat, fur, bone, nothing wasted. Children sit wide-eyed, bundled beneath thick layers of fur, their hands wrapped around their knees, listening intently. The stories flow, not only of animals, but of fire, how the first flame was carried from lightning-scorched trees, nurtured, protected, never allowed to die. Fire became life, a protector against cold, against darkness, a place for gathering, for remembering. The elders recount the ways of the land, how to read the snow, the wind, the shadows. They share knowledge of herbs that heal, of roots hidden beneath frozen soil, of the stars that guide them when the clouds break. Every word is a lesson, every tale layered with meaning, survival, respect, balance. Tiny bone carvings are passed between hands, mammoth-shaped amulets, etched symbols representing seasons, hunts, spirits. These tokens are more than decoration. They are reminders of lineage, of those who came before, of lessons etched into memory. The elders speak of spirits, forces that dwell in the mountains, the rivers, the sky itself. They describe the shimmering lights that dance overhead, the northern lights, as the breath of ancestors, watching, guiding, reminding them that life is fleeting but enduring. Younger hunters listen closely, how to stalk silently across the snow, how to spot subtle tracks, how to move with the land, not against it. Women share knowledge of crafting, how to stitch hides so no wind slips through, how to render fat, how to weave sinew strong and thin. The children absorb every word, their eyes reflecting the fire, each tale a thread in the vast woven fabric of survival. Mistakes cost lives here. Knowledge is protection. Tradition is strength. The night deepens. Stars glitter faintly beyond drifting clouds. The elders' voices fade, but their words linger, carried by those who listened, etched into hearts, ready to be passed down when their time comes. Outside, snow falls silently, blanketing the ancient land anew. Within the shelter, the cycle continues, learning, teaching, remembering, ensuring that even beneath the cold sky, the wisdom of generations will never fade. Part 12. Spirit of the Ice. The stars shimmer high above, scattered across the velvet sky, their pale light reflecting off the snow-laden earth. The air is crisp and silent, broken only by the distant crackle of fires and the soft murmur of voices within the shelters. But outside, beneath the vast dome of the heavens, a different presence is felt. the quiet, ancient spirit of the ice. For the people who survive here, the frozen land is more than harsh terrain. It is alive, filled with unseen forces, with whispers of ancestors carried on the wind, with the breath of ancient beasts lingering in the snow. Each drift, each crack in the ice holds meaning. The landscape itself speaks if one knows how to listen. Totems crafted from bone and wood stand near the shelter entrances. Simple carvings of mammoths, reindeer, birds, their surface is etched with spirals and lines, symbols representing protection, strength, and connection to the spirits that dwell beyond sight. These figures are not mere decorations. They are offerings, guardians, reminders that life depends on respect for the forces that govern the land. At night, when the northern lights ripple across the sky in waves of green and blue, the people gather quietly beyond the fire's glow. They raise their eyes to the shifting heavens, watching the lights dance, their bodies wrapped in thick furs, their breath misting into the frigid air. The elders whisper stories, tales of spirits hidden within the glaciers, of ancient beings that sleep beneath the frozen earth, of stars that watch, judging, guiding. They tell of seasons long past, when the ice stretched farther, when the rivers ran with silver fish, when the mammoths roamed in greater numbers. The people believe the land holds memory, that each snowflake falling from the dark sky carries the essence of those who came before, that the frozen rivers whisper secrets to those who walk their banks, that the fire's smoke curls upward, carrying their prayers to the waiting stars. Symbols are drawn upon hides painted with ochre and ash, simple abstract shapes representing animals, family lines, moments of survival. These markings pass knowledge, unite generations, weave the present to the past. Oaths are spoken softly beneath the northern lights, promises to honor the land, to use only what is needed, to respect the creatures that roam the snow, to remember the spirits that linger unseen. In this frozen world, where the boundary between life and death is thin, belief binds the people. Belief in the power of nature, in the wisdom of ancestors, in the unseen rhythm that moves through the ice, the sky, the earth beneath their feet. The fire crackles low. The snow falls steadily. The people sit close, their hearts steady, their minds quiet, listening to the land, to the sky, to the spirit of the ice that surrounds them always. Part 13. Paths Across the White Land. The snow stretches endlessly in every direction, vast and untouched, broken only by faint ridges, the soft rise of distant hills, and the dark lines of forests etched against the horizon. In this silent, frozen world, the people move, a slow, steady procession across the whiteness, their fur-lined forms trailing faint footprints behind them. Their tracks press into the snow, narrow and deliberate, evidence of quiet resilience and ancient knowledge. Each step is measured, chosen with care, avoiding the thin crusts of weak ice, skirting the deep drifts that could trap unwary feet. Behind them, the wind soon begins its work. Soft flakes drifting down to fill the depressions, erasing their passage as if they had never been. The land ahead is wide, its frozen surface dappled with light reflected from the pale sun, its emptiness stretching to the far horizon, where ice meets sky. Great glaciers loom in the distance, their jagged edges sparkling like distant walls of crystal, their silent mass creeping ever forward. Moving together, the group carries their lives upon their backs, bundles of hides and tools, woven baskets of dried roots and herbs, bone-tipped spears lashed tight, carefully wrapped bundles of food preserved for the long journey. The sleds they drag behind them glide softly over the crusted snow, their wooden runners smoothed by fat and ash. Each journey is a rhythm, the slow glide of footsteps, the faint scrape of sleds, the muffled murmur of quiet voices. The people speak little, their eyes scan the land, reading the subtle signs. A ridge of snow concealing a frozen stream, a scattering of small tracks leading toward shelter, the faint shimmer of ice signaling dangerous ground. Children ride atop the sleds, bundled tight within layers of fur, their wide eyes watching the landscape slip by. A world of snow and silence, ancient and immense. Elders walk with steady pace, their staffs marking the snow, their breath curling like thin smoke into the cold air. Their lives are nomadic, shaped by the seasons, by the shifting herds of reindeer, the migration of animals, the scarcity of resources. They know when to move, when the snow thickens, when food grows scarce, when the wind carries the sharp bite of deeper winter. The land changes with the journey. Open plains give way to low hills, to sparse forests of dark, stunted pines and birches, their branches creaking softly beneath the weight of snow. Rivers, frozen solid, cut silver lines across the terrain, pathways for travel, for new campsites, for following the life that sustains them. Beyond the hills, the plains stretch once more, vast and glistening, the snow untouched, except for the faint scars left by wind and the occasional tracks of animals. The people move steadily, their eyes squinting against the sun's glare reflected from the icy crust. Occasionally, they pass ancient stones, dark monoliths protruding from the snow, worn by countless winters, their surfaces etched with frost. These silent sentinels stand like markers of forgotten paths, their presence a quiet reminder of the generations that have walked these same white lands before. The air carries the sharp scent of distant pine and the faint tang of smoke from fires burned long ago, the remnants of other camps, other journeys. The people's hands tighten on their sleds, their steps resolute as they move forward into the seemingly endless white. At night, when they make camp, the faint glow of fires reflects upon the snow, casting gentle warmth into the frozen silence. Shelters rise swiftly, frames of bone and wood covered with hides, offering protection against the creeping cold. Sparks drift into the dark sky as the fire crackles, the northern lights undulating above. Beneath the glowing aurora, they sleep, the stars overhead, the snow beneath, the rhythm of travel etched into every muscle, every breath. They dream of distant lands, of valleys filled with game, of ancient forests lost beneath the ice. The journey is endless, shaped by survival, by the quiet endurance that defines life in this frozen world. Across the white land, they move, their footprints light, their hearts steady, bound to the snow, to the ice, to the ancient paths that stretch beyond sight. And always beyond the next ridge, the journey continues, carved into snow and memory, quiet but unbroken, as it has for countless generations beneath the frozen sky. Part 14. Following the herds. The people move with quiet purpose, following the faint trails left by the reindeer herds across the snow-covered plains. The sky above is vast and pale, the horizon blurring where ice meets clouds, and the snow crunches gently beneath their boots. Their breath rises in soft clouds, fading into the cold air as they press onward. Ahead, in the distance, the herd grazes. Reindeer, their thick fur dusted with frost, antlers branching like ancient trees against the whiteness. They cluster together, their bodies shifting as one, noses buried in the snow, uncovering lichen and moss beneath the frozen crust. The hunters know these animals well, their patterns, their migrations, the signs of their passing etched into the snow. Each hoof print, each patch of scraped earth is read like a map. The people follow as step after patient step, their sleds gliding behind them, their tools secured, their eyes sharp. The journey is long, across endless plains, over frozen rivers, through sparse forests heavy with snow. They track the herd, sometimes near, sometimes only distant shadows slipping between drifts. The reindeer lead them forward toward food, toward survival. The cold bites at their cheeks, settles into their bones. But they move on. Their furs shield them from the worst of the wind. Their boots tread softly across the ice. They share quiet words, gestures, signs pass between them, communication honed by years of life in this silent land. The beauty of the world surrounds them, the shimmer of frost crystals beneath the pale sun, the endless roll of snowy hills, the dark line of trees etched along the horizon. The ice gleams beneath their feet, frozen rivers snaking across the landscape like veins of silver. Sometimes they cross valleys where the snow lies deep and untouched, glittering beneath the low sun. Their sleds leave faint trails, their breath curling like smoke, the sound of footsteps muffled by the thick, crusted snow. Every movement is slow, deliberate, shaped by caution and knowledge of the hidden dangers beneath the frozen surface. At night, they camp beneath the open sky, the northern lights rippling overhead in waves of color, green, blue, violet, their glow reflecting off the snow, painting the world in otherworldly hues. The fires crackle, the scent of roasted meat mingling with smoke, and the people rest, wrapped in furs, their hearts steady, their minds fixed on the journey. The days blur, walk, track, rest, repeat, the rhythm of survival carved into every muscle, every breath. Sometimes the herd disappears into the trees, their tracks faint, their presence hidden. The hunters adjust, patient, their movements cautious, their knowledge guiding them forward. When they draw near again, the hunt begins, a slow, deliberate dance of positioning, of reading the land, of respecting the creatures that sustain them. They crouch behind snowdrifts, their eyes sharp, their fingers tightening around spear shafts, waiting for the perfect moment. The chase is swift but calculated, arrows loosed, spears thrown, the snow erupting beneath pounding hooves. The herd flees, but the hunter's patience is rewarded. Some remain, the meat, the hides, the sinew, gifts of the land. The people work quickly, their hands skilled, their tools sharp. They carve, bundle, preserve, their every action shaped by efficiency and reverence. The herd continues onward, the snow falls anew, and the people follow always forward, always moving, bound to the endless white land, to the ancient cycle of life beneath the ice. And so, beneath a sky brushed with color, upon snow that stretches forever, they follow, silent, patient, enduring. Their footsteps light upon the frozen world, their spirits tethered to the rhythm of the reindeer, to the song of survival carried upon the wind. Part 15. The Forest and the Ice. The forest rises from the frozen plains like a dark silhouette etched against the endless white. Towering pines and ancient birches cluster together, their trunks dark with moisture, their branches bowed beneath heavy layers of snow and ice. The scent of the trees fills the air, rich resinous pine mingled with the faint, earthy aroma of frozen bark and brittle leaves hidden beneath the drifts. The people approach cautiously, their forms wrapped in layers of fur, their footsteps muffled by the thick snow. They know the forest well, its quiet paths, its hidden dangers, its promise of shelter and resources. The tree trunks stretch tall into the pale sky, their rough bark streaked with frost, their outlines softened by the snow that clings to every branch. Beneath the canopy, the light dims, the snow packed firm underfoot, disturbed only by the scattered tracks of animals, the delicate imprints of rabbits, the long stride of foxes, the wide, deep prints of wolves or wandering reindeer. The people read these signs with practiced eyes, their senses attuned to every rustle, every faint mark pressed into the snow. Icicles hang like crystal daggers from the branches, glistening as they catch the faint sunlight filtering through the trees. The air is still, heavy, with the silence of deep winter, broken only by the occasional creak of shifting ice or the distant call of a bird hidden high in the canopy. The forest is ancient, a refuge and a mystery, its frozen streams winding beneath tangled roots, its hollows sheltering animals from the wind. The people weave between the trees, their movements quiet, their eyes scanning for firewood, for hidden game, for shelter in case of storm. The scent of pine needles, sharp and fresh, mingles with the rich, earthy undertones of snow-dampened moss. Beneath the snow, small plants cling to life, lichen, berries, the stubborn roots of shrubs, each one a memory of the fleeting summer, a promise that life endures beneath the frost. In the deeper parts of the forest, ancient trees stand like guardians, their thick trunks gnarled with age, their branches heavy with frost. Moss creeps along fallen logs, frozen streams crackle faintly beneath their icy crust, and birds' nests sit empty, waiting for seasons far ahead. They spot the tracks of a deer, fresh, sharp-edged, leading deeper into the trees. The hunters exchange glances, their bodies lowering instinctively, their steps cautious. The chase through the forest is different than on the plains. The snow is uneven, the trees a maze of obstacles, the echoes muffled by the thick blanket of ice. They pass frozen ponds hidden beneath snowdrifts, their surfaces smooth and glass-like, reflecting faint outlines of branches above. The forest shelters foxes, birds, and hares, their presence betrayed by faint tracks and the occasional rustle among the low shrubs. In the heart of the forest, the snow glows faintly blue beneath the shadowed canopy. The people pause, breathing deeply, taking in the stillness, the quiet majesty of towering trees, the ancient scent of resin, the fragile beauty of frost patterns etched across the bark. As they gather branches, strips of bark, and kindling, their hands move with quiet familiarity. Some carve small tokens from fallen wood, figures of animals or symbols of their clan, leaving them tucked beneath trees as silent offerings to the spirits that dwell among the shadows. Beyond the tree line, the world opens once more, the endless expanse of ice and snow stretching beyond sight. The forest stands at the edge of this frozen sea, a boundary between two worlds, between shelter and the vast unknown. The people carry with them the forest's gifts, bundles of branches for fire, carved poles for their shelters, strips of bark for binding and repair. They move onward, their footsteps light, the scent of pine clinging to their garments, their hearts steady. The forest fades behind them, its dark silhouettes vanishing against the brightness of the open plain. But its memory lingers, the smell of trees, the quiet paths beneath snow-laden branches, the hidden life that survives amid ice and shadows. a reminder that even in the deepest winter, the world holds beauty, mystery, and endurance. Part 16. Beneath the Frozen Sky. The evening settles softly over the plains, and the world beyond the shelters grows still beneath a sky brushed with fading color. The last rays of pale sunlight dissolve into the horizon, giving way to the deep indigo of night. Above, the heavens stretch vast and endless, scattered with countless stars, each one flickering like a shard of ancient ice caught in the chill air. The people sit outside their shelters, wrapped in thick layers of fur, their eyes lifted skyward. The snow beneath them glows faintly blue under the rising moon, and the air hums with silence, broken only by the distant crackle of fires and the occasional whisper of wind curling across the plains. The sky unfolds like a great frozen ocean, deep and unknowable. Constellations, familiar and ancient, etch their shapes across the firmament. Symbols passed down through generations, markers of time and change. Children sit close to their elders, listening as the names of stars are spoken softly, as the sky is read like a map, as stories of ancestors and spirits are woven into the night. Above them, the northern lights begin to stir, wisps of pale green drifting across the darkness, glowing softly at first, then rippling into broad curtains of color. The lights dance, slow and graceful, their shapes bending like wind-blown snow, casting an ethereal glow upon the ice-bound world. The people watch in reverent silence, their breaths rising in small clouds, their hearts steady with quiet wonder. The northern lights are not merely beauty, they are the voices of the ancestors, the spirits of the land, reminders that they are never truly alone beneath the frozen sky. The fires burn low, their embers casting faint warmth upon faces flushed from the cold. The scent of smoke, mingled with the sharp purity of snow and distant pine, fills the air. Blankets of fur are pulled tighter, bodies lean close, and quiet songs rise, soft melodies, ancient and steady, woven into the stillness. Night deepens, the stars sharpening against the dark sky, the snow glistening faintly in their light. The aurora pulses, shifting hues of green and blue rolling across the heavens, reflected in wide, watching eyes. Some elders speak of the patterns, how the stars have guided their people across the white land for generations, how each shimmering point carries the stories of those who walked the snow long before. They tell of distant worlds beyond the ice, of spirits gliding upon the northern lights, watching and whispering from above. Children point skyward, tracing shapes in the heavens, a hunter, a mammoth, a bird soaring high. The ancient images passed down by countless voices beneath the frozen sky. The crackle of fire mixes with quiet laughter, with soft prayers offered to the stars. Beyond the warmth, the snow stretches vast and unbroken, shimmering beneath moonlight. The faint howl of a distant wolf drifts across the plains, lonely but familiar, a song of survival carried upon the wind. The people huddle closer, their breaths steady, their minds filled with the vastness above and the quiet safety within. Wrapped in furs, they sit beneath the endless frozen sky, small figures dwarfed by the vast ancient world, but bound by fire, by family, by the enduring song of the stars. The aurora shimmers, the constellations turn, and the snow glows faintly blue, and beneath that frozen canopy, life quietly endures. Part 17. Games of the Little Ones. The sun sits low on the horizon, its pale light casting long shadows across the snow-covered ground. The air is sharp, crisp, with the promise of winter, but the chill does little to dampen the laughter that drifts across the plains. Near the shelters, children play, bundled in thick layers of fur and hide, their flushed faces peeking from beneath hoods lined with soft pelts. The snow crunches beneath their feet as they race across the drifts, their small boots kicking up clouds of powdery white. Their giggles echo softly against the quiet of the frozen world, a light-hearted song amidst the enduring silence of the ice. Some tumble into the snowbanks, rolling and laughing, their bodies disappearing momentarily beneath the soft layers before bursting forth, their eyes bright with joy. Others sculpt figures from packed snow, tiny animals, mammoths, birds, their small fingers red but nimble as they shape the frozen creations. Near the fire, children sit cross-legged, arranging small bones and stones into intricate patterns upon the ground. These pieces, worn smooth by generations of handling, serve as toys, game markers, puzzle pieces, tokens of imagination. With whispered rules passed down from their elders, they play quiet games of chance and strategy, their faces serious with focus, their laughter erupting when victory is claimed. Older children teach the younger how to throw small carved spears at snow targets, how to track the faintest of footprints pressed into the ice, how to mimic the calls of birds hidden in the distant trees. The games are more than amusement. They are lessons, gentle preparations for the life that awaits beyond the safety of the shelter. Snowballs fly, soft, harmless, bursting apart in mid-air, the children's shrieks of laughter rising, their breath visible in the cold, their cheeks glow pink, their eyes wide, their voices bright, a stark contrast to the subdued, enduring world of the adults. Amidst the games, the smell of wood smoke and cooking meat drifts through the air, blending with the crisp purity of snow. The older ones glance toward the fire, drawn by the warmth, but reluctant to abandon their play. The snow glistens beneath the faint winter sun, each flake a tiny crystal reflecting the fragile beauty of the land. The children's footprints weave across the drifts, temporary marks soon softened by falling snow, a fleeting reminder of their light steps upon the ancient ice. They roll snowballs larger and larger, shaping them into towering snow creatures, mammoths with stick tusks, birds perched upon snowbanks, wolves with sharp outlines. Their creativity blends with tradition, their hands crafting playful tributes to the animals that share the frozen world. Some play hide and seek among the piled firewood and stacked supplies, their soft giggles trailing behind as they dart between hides and bundles of tools. Others trace patterns with sticks in the snow, symbols taught by their elders, circles, animal tracks, runes representing sun and wind. Their games spill into the late afternoon, the low sun casting golden hues across the snow, their shadows long and playful upon the frozen earth. Parents glance their way, smiling quietly, remembering their own days of snow games, the same songs and soft laughter echoing across time. Even as the sky deepens toward evening, the games continue, laughter blending with the low hum of wind, the joy of the young defying the frozen quiet of the world. They chase one another across the snow, their forms silhouetted against the endless white, their spirits untouched by the weight of survival. The games are simple: carved bones, snow figures, soft contests of skill, but they are the seeds of resilience, the quiet foundation of a future shaped by the harsh, beautiful rhythm of life beneath the ice. Part 18. First Steps of Learning. The snow crunches faintly beneath careful footsteps as a small group of children follow in the tracks of an elder. Their eyes are wide, their faces flushed with cold and curiosity, their small boots pressing softly into the freshly fallen snow. The morning is crisp, the air sharp with the scent of ice and distant pine, and the world stretches vast and quiet around them. The elder moves slowly, her staff marking the snow, her keen eyes scanning the white surface. She gestures to the ground, a faint trail of hoof prints winding across the drift, and the children crowd close, their breath curling into the frigid air. "See here!" The elder's voice is low, steady. The edges are sharp, the snow inside the print still fresh. They passed not long ago. The children lean in, their small fingers tracing the imprint, feeling the delicate edges, learning the subtle signs left behind by reindeer. One boy glances up, his eyes bright with understanding, and the elder smiles softly, the first threads of knowledge weaving into the next generation. Further along, they stop again, this time beside the faint tracks of a fox, light and nimble, barely pressing into the crust of snow. The elder shows them how to recognize the spacing, the direction, how to tell the difference between a fleeing animal and one moving at ease. The lesson continues. They learn to listen for distant calls, to watch the shifting of birds overhead, to notice the patterns etched by wind upon the snow. Each observation a piece of survival, each small detail a vital thread in the fabric of life beneath the ice. Back at the shelter, their lessons continue. Small hands practice with tools, scrapers of bone, flint blades, needles carved from antler. They sit cross-legged by the fire, their faces flushed, their fingers clumsy but eager, learning to mend hides, to bind sinew, to shape stone into useful edges. Elders guide them gently, correcting grips, showing the angle of a knife, the tension of thread. The shelter hums with quiet concentration, the faint crackle of fire blending with the rasp of hide and the soft tap of tools. They learn the uses of herbs, small, dried bundles carried carefully, for cuts, for illness, for warming the body in bitter wind. They practice knotting sinew to repair garments, and how to chip flakes from stone to form sharp blades. The older ones watch the fire, learning its language, how to feed it, how to bank the coals, how to preserve the flame. Outside, the snow falls steadily, blanketing the land in silence. But within the shelter, knowledge passes from hand to hand, from voice to ear, from heart to heart, ensuring that even here, beneath the frozen sky, the youngest learn the first steps of survival. Part 19. Faces of the Tribe. The faces of the people carry the stories of countless winters, etched with lines shaped by wind, by cold, by endurance. Around the fire, in the pale light of dawn, within the quiet shelter of furs and hides, those faces reflect the quiet strength of survival. The elders' faces are maps of time, deep lines crossing their brows, creases around their steady eyes, the faint scars of hunts long past. Their skin, weathered and roughened by years of exposure to ice and wind, holds the history of the tribe. Beneath their fur-lined hoods, their eyes gleam, sharp, clear, dark as ancient stone, watchful and knowing. Their cheeks are marked with faint tattoos, simple lines, symbols of family, of ancestors, of the seasons endured. Their lips, often drawn in quiet, are quick to shape stories, tales of hunts, of hardships, of spirits glimpsed beneath the northern lights. The adults bear fewer lines, but their faces carry the imprint of responsibility. Strong jaws, high cheekbones, eyes that have learned to scan the snow for danger, for opportunity. Their hair, dark and often braided, peeks from beneath warm hoods, dusted with frost and snow. The young adults move with practiced grace, shoulders broad beneath layered hides, hands calloused from tools and weapons. Their eyes mirror the elders, sharp, attentive, holding the quiet promise of carrying tradition forward. Children's faces are round, soft, flushed with the cold, eyes wide, curious, reflecting the brightness of the snow and the flickering firelight. Their cheeks are marked with faint red patches from the icy wind, their lips chapped but smiling, their hair tangled with stray bits of fur from games played beneath the northern sky. They gather near the fire, those faces, old and young, their features shaped not by vanity, but by necessity, by the demands of life in a world ruled by ice. Their gazes drift toward one another, toward the horizon, toward the ancient glimmering sky, bound by blood, by survival, by the endurance carved into every wrinkle, every scar, every steady glance. In their faces, the frozen world lives on. Its beauty, its harshness, its quiet, unbroken determination. Their expressions hold stories unspoken of long journeys across endless snow, of silent hunts beneath the stars, of soft songs sung by the fire when the world outside lies still and waiting. The people's faces, lined with survival, lit by quiet hope, are portraits of resilience written by the ice itself. Part 20. Whispers by the Fire. The flames crackle softly in the heart of the shelter, casting flickering shadows along the curved walls of fur and bone. Outside, the snow falls gently, covering the world in silence. But within the circle of warmth, voices rise, low, steady, shaped by memory, wrapped in the soft hum of night. The people gather close, old and young, seated upon thick hides, their faces illuminated by the dancing firelight. The elders speak, their voices worn but strong, weaving tales as ancient as the frozen land itself. They tell of the ancestors, hunters who walked beneath the same stars, who followed herds across the endless plains, who raised shelters beneath the northern lights. They speak of great migrations, of forgotten valleys hidden beneath ice, of spirits that watch from the snow-laden hills. The children's eyes widen, their fingers curled around their knees, their breath curling softly into the cool air. The fire reflects in their wide, curious eyes as the elders' words drift through the shelter, carrying the weight of history, of tradition, of quiet endurance. Legends unfold of creatures older than memory, mammoths as vast as mountains, wolves with eyes of ice, birds that carry the souls of the departed to the shimmering lights above. The tales ripple like the northern winds, their edges shaped by time, their core unbroken. The crackle of wood punctuates the silence between stories, the occasional pop of sap, the shifting of furs as bodies lean closer to the warmth. Beyond the shelter walls, the snow presses gently, the world wrapped in quiet. The elders whisper of symbols etched upon stone, of hidden meanings woven into the lines of bone carvings, of dreams that drift beneath the frozen sky. They speak of the northern lights, how they dance in the heavens as the breath of those who came before, how their glow guides hunters home, how they remind all who watch that nothing is truly lost to the ice. Soft songs rise, melodies passed through countless winters, hummed beneath the stars, blending with the quiet rustle of fur and the steady pulse of fire. The night deepens, the shelter warm, the world outside, vast and still. As the hours pass, stories grow longer, more intricate, tales of ancient beasts, of ice stretching beyond sight, of spirits drifting across the northern plains. The elders' hands gesture through the air, tracing invisible patterns that mirror the swirling snow beyond the shelter walls. Children lean closer, drawn in by every word, every whispered myth that carries echoes of long-forgotten winters. They hear of hunts beneath the full moon, of brave ancestors forging paths across treacherous ice, of songs carried on the wind that still whisper across the frozen fields. Some tales are solemn, of loss, of storms that swept away campsites, of wandering souls seen beneath the aurora's glow. Others spark soft laughter, trickster spirits hiding tools, animals outwitting hunters, elders recalling their own youthful follies beneath the snow-laden sky. The fire burns low, its embers glowing deep red, casting soft shadows that stretch and dance upon the curved walls of bone and hide. The people pull their cloaks tighter, their eyes heavy with sleep, but they remain, held by the warmth, by the voices, by the ancient thread of stories that binds them together. Beyond the shelter, snowflakes drift gently, settling upon the world in silent waves. But inside, within the glow of firelight, the voices of ancestors echo, woven into the songs, carried upon the breath of every whispered legend, shaping the quiet, enduring soul of those gathered by the fire. Whispers rise, soft, steady, binding the people to the land, to each other, to the frozen night beyond. And so, beneath the snow and silence, life and memory endures. Part 21. Across the ice fields. The ice fields stretch as far as the eye can see, a vast, endless expanse of white and blue, where the snow glistens beneath the pale winter sun, and the ground shimmers like frozen glass. The horizon blurs, the sky and earth merging into a seamless canvas of frost, while distant ridges of ice loom like ancient jagged mountains. The people move cautiously across this open world, their figures small against the immensity of the frozen plains. Thick layers of fur wrap their bodies, hoods drawn tight, faces hidden from the biting wind that sweeps across the ice in steady, relentless gusts. The snow crunches faintly beneath their boots, the only sound in this vast silence. Each step presses into the crusted surface, a temporary mark soon softened by drifting snow. Their breath mists in the frigid air, curling behind them like smoke. The wind whispers low across the fields, tugging at their cloaks, rustling the fringes of their garments, carrying with it the scent of ice, distant pine, and the faint memory of smoke from faraway fires. The travelers pull sleds laden with supplies, bundles of meat wrapped in hides, tools lashed securely, bone frames stacked for shelters. The sleds slide smoothly over the snow, their runners hissing faintly, their contents swaying with the uneven ground. The vastness presses in, an ocean of ice, empty and immense. The only landmarks are the faint rise of snowdrifts, the occasional jagged ridge of blue ice protruding from beneath the frozen crust, glinting like crystal beneath the pale light. The sky stretches wide overhead, pale gray streaked with faint hints of blue. Thin clouds drift like wisps of smoke, their edges tinged with the cold brilliance of the distant sun. As they cross the ice fields, the tension lingers, a quiet awareness of the harshness that surrounds them, the knowledge that shelter is distant, that the land offers little but cold and wind. Yet they move forward, their bodies steady, their eyes scanning the horizon for signs of safety. A cluster of trees, the dark shapes of distant hills, the faint shimmer of smoke. The hours pass in slow rhythm, footsteps pressing into snow, the creak of sleds, the hum of wind brushing across layers of fur and hide. Their shadows stretch long upon the ice, distorted by the low sun, their forms moving steadily, unbroken. In the stillness, the land speaks, the distant groan of shifting ice, the faint crack of snow beneath foot, the subtle rustle of garments as the travelers adjust their hoods, tighten belts, steady their burdens. The ice stretches on, vast, stark, beautiful, its quiet song of wind and snow echoing in their hearts as they disappear across the shimmering plains. They pause at times to take shelter behind ice formations, massive blocks of ancient blue ice rising like frozen monuments, their jagged edges glistening beneath the faint sun. Here they share quiet words, sip from leather pouches filled with warmed broth, adjust their sleds, and press forward. Occasionally, they cross frozen streams, narrow veins of glassy ice tracing delicate lines across the wider plains, the sound of cracking beneath their feet, a reminder of the land's quiet dangers. The youngest ride upon the sleds, their eyes wide beneath fur hoods, watching the endless world pass by. Elders steady their staffs, reading the snow, pointing to subtle shifts in the landscape, the faint ripple of wind-blown drifts, the sparkle of hoarfrost that signals hidden crevices. The ice fields are harsh, they test endurance, they strip away comfort, but they are also strangely beautiful. Light scatters across the snow in shimmering fragments. The air hums with the steady breath of wind. Distant ice ridges glow faintly blue beneath the waning daylight. As night approaches, the temperature drops. The wind sharpens. The horizon deepens into shades of lavender and silver. The people erect temporary shelters, curved frames of bone and hide nestled into the drifts, their fires crackling weakly against the vastness. Beneath the northern lights, they huddle close, their faces lit by the soft flicker of flames, their bodies wrapped in fur and quiet determination. The stars wheel slowly overhead, the aurora rippling in waves of color, green and blue washing across the heavens. And when dawn returns, pale and silent, they rise again, their footprints pressing into the snow, their sleds trailing behind, the vast ice fields stretching endlessly forward. They walk, steady and silent, bound to the rhythm of endurance, across the white world toward survival. Part 22. Return to Shelter. The first dark silhouettes of the shelters rise on the horizon, their familiar shapes half buried beneath snowdrifts, framed by the faint glow of fires burning within. The long journey across the frozen fields fades behind them, and relief settles into tired limbs as the travelers draw close. The wind still whispers low across the snow, but the scent of smoke and warmth cuts through the chill. The promise of safety, of firelight, of rest. The people move with quiet purpose, their sleds trailing softly behind, their eyes drawn to the flickering amber glow beyond the shelter walls. The return is met with quiet joy. Hands clasp, cloaks are shaken free of snow, voices murmur with familiar ease. Elders emerge from the shelters, their faces lined with age and wisdom, their eyes sharp as they count the travelers, assess the burdens they carry. Inside, the air is heavy with warmth. The soft crackle of fire, the rich aroma of cooking meat, the earthy scent of fur and leather. The walls curve overhead, layered with hide stretched tight, their surfaces darkened by soot, their seams stitched with care. Furs are shed, boots loosened, bodies stretched beside the fire. The heat seeping into chilled skin, the flickering light casting gentle shadows across flushed cheeks and tired eyes. Bowls of steaming broth are passed from hand to hand, the savory scent filling the shelter, herbs, roots, marrow rich and nourishing. Children nestle close to their parents, their faces pressed into the soft folds of fur cloaks, their eyes drooping as the warmth lulls them toward sleep. The youngest curl like small animals beside the fire, their breaths even, their cheeks flushed with safety and contentment. Soft voices drift, stories shared, news of the hunt, laughter low and steady. The snow presses gently against the shelter walls, muffling the world beyond. But within, there is peace, the unspoken bond of those who endure together. The fire crackles on, casting warmth and light upon weathered faces, upon weary shoulders, upon the quiet hearts of those returned from the frozen plains. Wrapped in layers of soft hides, surrounded by family, the people sleep, held by the familiar embrace of warmth, by the softness of fur, by the simple, enduring comfort of home. The scent of cooked meat and herbs lingers as others unpack supplies. Bundles of hides carefully unrolled, tools inspected for wear, baskets of preserved roots and dried fish stacked neatly near the fire. Older children assist their elders, carrying firewood, shaking snow from cloaks, helping to mend worn straps on sleds. Their hands move with quiet understanding, their eyes bright with the satisfaction of returning safely. Elders exchange knowing glances, counting heads, noting the bounty. The tribe whole once more beneath the dark winter sky. The walls of the shelters breathe, the faint rustle of furs, the soft sighs of sleeping children. As the storm outside begins to rise, snow swirling past the curved frames. But within, there is only warmth, the steady glow of fire, the quiet murmur of life preserved beneath layers of hide and bone. The people settle, their bodies heavy with weariness, their hearts lightened by the return, the fire casting amber light upon their faces, their shadows dancing gently along the curved wall. In the quiet hours before dawn, the snow falls steadily, blanketing the world beyond in soft silence. Yet within the shelter, wrapped in fur, surrounded by the steady hum of survival, the people rest, safe, warm, home at last. Part 23. Sleep beneath the stars. The night settles gently upon the land, and the frozen world exhales a quiet stillness that stretches endlessly across the plains. The snow-covered ground glistens under a canopy of stars, countless points of silver light shimmering against the deep indigo sky. The northern lights ripple faintly along the horizon, their colors shifting in soft waves, green and blue dancing like ancient spirits upon the dark vault of night. The flickering fires fade to glowing embers, their orange light casting faint halos along the curved shelter walls, the warmth lingering in the still heavy air. A soft glow escapes the openings of the shelters, tiny flickers of light against the vast darkness, humble beacons of life in the frozen expanse. Inside the shelters, the people prepare for sleep. Thick hides are drawn close, layered upon one another to form protective cocoons against the creeping cold. The scent of tanned leather mingles with wood smoke and the lingering aroma of rich broth cooked hours earlier, creating an atmosphere of deep comfort and familiarity. Children curl beside their parents, their small bodies nestled within the folds of fur cloaks, their cheeks, still flushed from the fire's warmth, glow faintly in the dim light. Their eyes grow heavy, lids fluttering as sleep begins to settle in, their breaths soft and steady beneath the covers. The older ones stretch out their limbs, weary from the day's labors. Their hands, calloused and worn, relax beside them as muscles loosen, tension fading beneath the warmth of the shelter. The firelight plays gently across their resting faces, highlighting the quiet resilience etched into every line, every scar, every peaceful expression. Outside, the snow lies untouched, a vast ocean of crystalline silence. The moon hangs high and pale, casting silver hues across the drifts, outlining the gentle curves of snowbanks, the jagged edges of distant ice ridges. The wind hums softly, brushing against the walls, whispering its ancient song, a song of snow, of distant stars, of time itself. slipping gently by. The people listen as they drift toward slumber. Through the thin seams of the shelter, glimpses of the sky remain visible. The stars pulse quietly, steady and eternal, like watchful eyes peering down upon the world. These celestial lights hold the stories of ancestors long past, the hunters, the gatherers, the dreamers who once stood beneath these same skies, their spirits lingering still, woven into the fabric of the northern night. Soft rustles fill the shelter, the shifting of bodies beneath hides, the gentle sighs of breath, the faint creak of wooden frames settling beneath the weight of snow. Outside, the distant howls of wolves echo faintly across the plains, carried on the cold air like a reminder of the wilderness that stretches beyond the fragile walls. Yet, within the shelter, there is peace. The heartbeat of the fire remains, a steady rhythm of crackles and faint embers glowing, keeping the cold at bay. The warmth seeps into tired limbs, settling deep into the core, offering quiet reprieve from the relentless world beyond. Dreams drift upon the warm air, soft and fleeting. The people imagine lush green valleys hidden beyond ice, herds of reindeer crossing snowless plains, the return of long summer days when the sun lingers high and the rivers flow free once more. Beneath the layers of fur, they sleep deeply. Their minds float between waking and dreams, carried by the steady warmth of family, the gentle hum of survival, and the ancient protection of the stars above. The snow outside continues to fall, silent, endless, covering tracks, softening edges, blanketing the land in stillness. But within, held by warmth, bound by kinship, the people rest, safe beneath the quiet strength of their shelters, their hearts steady beneath the endless frozen sky. They sleep, wrapped in the softness of fur, protected by the walls of hide and bone, cradled beneath the brilliant eternal tapestry of stars that has watched over them since time began. Part 24. The Enduring Flame. The fire burns low in the heart of the shelter, its orange glow flickering gently across fur-lined walls, casting warm light upon resting faces. Outside, the wind whispers softly, brushing against the hides stretched taut over the curved frame, a steady hum of winter beyond. But within, there is only peace. The fire crackles quietly, its embers glowing, feeding the warmth that seeps through every layer of hide, through every blanket of fur wrapped around tired bodies. The shelter breathes softly, the faint rise and fall of sleeping forms, the rustle of cloaks shifting, the low murmur of quiet dreams. Children sleep curled against their parents, their faces pressed into the softness of hides, their fingers curled gently beneath warm layers. The air carries the familiar scent of smoke, of leather, of tanned fur, a tapestry of comfort woven from the simple elements of survival. Shadows dance along the walks, the gentle movement of the fire casting fleeting shapes, but the darkness beyond is held at bay. Outside, the snow stretches wide beneath the moonlight, the sky vast and filled with stars, the frozen world quiet beneath the steady song of the wind. But inside, the flame endures, small, steady, unwavering. It is more than fire. It is life, hope, the promise that even here, beneath endless snow and biting wind, warmth persists. The shelter holds steady, the people safe within, their hearts tethered to the ancient rhythm of fire, of family, of quiet survival. The night deepens, the flame flickers, dreams drift upon the warm air, dreams of green valleys, of herds on distant plains, of the soft touch of summer yet to come. Wrapped in furs, embraced by the simple glow of the enduring flame, the people sleep, safe, warm, at peace, beneath the endless stars, beneath the frozen sky. The embers glow long into the night, casting a quiet halo of light upon fur-lined walls. Beyond the shelter, snow falls in gentle waves, settling upon the world in layers of white silence. The storm outside howls, but within warmth holds firm, flickering, glowing, eternal. The fire, small yet defiant, burns as it always has, its light a thread connecting past and present, ancestors and the living, memory and hope. In this circle of warmth, in this fragile bubble of life amid the endless ice, the people rest, held safe beneath hides, beside the enduring, unwavering flame. The fire's glow casts gentle shadows that stretch and sway across the shelter walls, tracing patterns as old as time. The soft murmur of sleeping breaths fills the space, blending with the rhythmic crackle of the embers. It is a soundscape of safety, the ancient lullaby of fire and snow. Beyond the walls, the night reigns, vast, silent, untamed, but the shelter is a world of its own. Here, beneath layers of fur, beneath bone frames and stitched hides, life pulses steady, defying a frozen silence. The people dream of the sun returning, of the ice loosening its grip, of rivers flowing, of berry bushes heavy with fruit. They dream of laughter under green canopies, of the warmth of summer rains, of the distant cry of birds returning to northern skies. And the flame, it burns on, small, steady, enduring. It holds the memory of those who came before, the hope of those who sleep now, and the quiet, unwavering promise that tomorrow will come. Safe beneath fur, beside the fire's glow, wrapped in the embrace of kin, the people sleep, and the enduring flame watches over them still.